So how are you, Zach? Whereabouts in Australia are you?
I'm good. I'm just in my house now, in Wollongong, just hanging out. Yeah.
Wollongong? And how are things there these days? I get a different update every day from people, so I'm fascinated.
Yeah, things were pretty good, but I think it's starting to kind of cases of COVID are starting to ramp up a little bit and getting kind of closer and closer to home. So
Uh-oh.
we're on our way to another lockdown, really.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, stay well. That's the best I can say. Don't do anything dumb. And what did you get up to during the first lockdown? Anything exciting?
Not much, no. I just wrote a bit of music with some friends, and then I surfed a lot, actually. We were kind of lucky that we could still go surfing and the waves
That
were
is
nice.
good. And from what I understand about the virus, you're in much better shape if you're outdoors than you're inside all the time. So surfing is probably the perfect thing to be doing.
Yeah, it was kind of good for us. It's probably the first time. It's like kind of March, April, May is always the best time to surf in Australia, especially where we live. And we haven't been home in May for about 5 years. So
Right.
it's nice to have a break when the waves are good and soak it all in. So yeah, we surfed a lot, and that was about it.
Cool. So now you have a new album coming out called Brain Candy, right?
Yeah.
And it's out on the 31st, if I'm not mistaken. So we got a few
Yeah.
days to get excited about it. And I love the fact you're doing a couple of shows at Drive-In Theater. Is that right?
Yeah, it's kind of like a makeshift drive-in theater. We're doing it at Bulla Showground, just this big showground close to our place. Going to set up a stage pretty much in a car park and have about 400 cars lined up. And yeah, two shows there on release day on the 31st and then the day after. Yeah.
I actually have some experience with that. Believe it or not, 1,000 years ago, or more like 40, I was in a really bad punk band, and we played at a drive-in with like a bunch of other bands. We were like one of the first ones on, and it was hilarious because everybody's sitting in their cars, and then at the end, instead of applauding, they honk their horns.
I know. I've been like racking my brain figuring out what it's going to be like because we've never even been to an actual drive-in movie, let alone a drive-in gig. And yeah, we don't have anyone to ask what it's like, so I'm intrigued to know how it felt and what it was like.
It was bizarre. People sitting in their cars.
Yeah, pretty weird.
Uh, Anyway, I mean, it's pretty cool. At least you're out there playing, which is what you've got to be dying to do, right?
Yeah, pretty much any excuse to be able to play a gig, we would just jump into the opportunity, and it's something new and different. So we're excited to try it out, even if it's horrible and weird. But I'm sure it'll be fine.
I'm sure it will be. I have nothing but good things to say about my experience.
Well, that's good.
As ridiculous as it was. So now the album itself, you need to tell me all about it. You had producer John Goodmanson working with you on that.
Yeah.
What did he bring to the table?
So we worked with him on our last record, Blend In, as well. So we kind of did it. We recorded it in the same studio as the last record at Robert Lang Studios in Seattle, and did it with John Goodmanson again. So we kind of had the songs ready to go. We had a few more songs than originally planned. For the last record, it was probably maybe 15 to 18 songs, but for this record, it was probably upwards of 30. And so we took a little more time in the studio, this time with John, and he kind of helped us trim the fat and kind of work through the songs a little better. But yeah, it was a really good experience. It was good for us to go back to Seattle. It's kind of like our second home in the US.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, John's really good for us. He always seems to kind of put us in line and tells us when it's done and when it's not done.
Right. Well, you say trim the fat, but how much fat can there be? There's only you and Billy, right, playing, or do you have other people kind of filling in the gaps?
Yeah, I mean, trim the fat. I mean, I guess whole songs. So cut it down to about like 15 or so songs.
Right.
But yeah, we have our friend Steve. He plays bass with us on the records. He's played bass on all of our records so far, and he kind of helped us out in the writing process for this record as well, which was a first, which was nice.
Oh, great. So that must be something new. Tell me about the writing process for this record and how it differs from what you've done in the past.
Yeah, so usually in the past it would have been just me and Billy kind of in a room playing together, just kind of making stuff up as we go. But for this record, I did a lot of stuff just at home on my computer, just kind of demoing into the computer, and then would bring it to Billy later on. And about a month before we went into the studio, me, Billy, and Steve, who plays bass with us now, we kind of we went to this little farmhouse kind of about 4 hours west of Sydney in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And we spent 2 weeks there just kind of running through all the songs that I'd done on my computer and kind of turning them into real songs, playing them with a full band, working them out.
Right.
And then kind of writing stuff on the fly during those couple of weeks as well. So I guess the whole record kind of came together in those few weeks. We figured out what we wanted to do and how it was going to sound. And then, after that, we kind of went into the studio kind of already knowing what we wanted to do. And a lot of the songs we've been playing them live now, so we kind of knew what they wanted to sound like. So it was kind of pretty easy in the end.
Sounds cool. And it's interesting you tell me that you found a house out in the middle of nowhere in Australia to record the album. I've been talking to quite a few Australian bands and musicians, and almost everyone tells me the same thing. I'm getting the feeling that if I just drive down any rural road, I'm gonna hear music coming out of.
Yeah, like the middle of nowhere is really easy to find in Australia. So.
But are there actual studios as well that you could have the option of using if you wanted to?
Yeah, there's a couple of studios a little bit north from here, north from Sydney. There's one. I can't remember. Our friends, Skeggs, they went up and recorded some stuff at a studio up there. We were thinking of going there, but we found this other place, band Art vs. Science. I think they recorded a record at this house that we went to. And It's basically just a house. It was no studio. I had really no equipment.
Right.
We just kind of got our own little Tascam desk and just kind of went at it commando. So but it was kind of really in the middle of nowhere. It was really like it took probably, you had to park up at a gate and then it was another 20-minute drive up this dirt track and you're kind of just sitting on top of a hill surrounded by nothing.
Nice.
It was kind of a place to just lock ourselves away and get to work.
Right. And do you have any kind of wild animals trying to get to you? Or because, here in New Zealand, we got nothing. So we're always excited about the idea of being eaten by something.
Yeah. I think we had a couple of kangaroos, I think. Nothing. I think when we first got there, because it's like an Airbnb, they give you like the info sheet and it shows you how to do all the stuff. And, because it's like really in the middle of nowhere, they've got their own water system and all this electricity. And we had to go turn on the generator and it was in this big, dark, dingy shed out the back. And I was terrified that I was going to get attacked by a brown snake.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Nothing happened. We were sweet. We were safe.
You survived. That's good.
Yeah. I think the most dangerous thing in the pub close by.
Yeah, I'm sure that's true. I'd be very wary of that. So you and Billy have been like best buddies forever, right?
Yeah, we've known each other for like 15 years or something now. We grew up a couple of houses away from each other. So yeah, we've always been friends and we've been playing together for like almost 10 years.
So now that you're and you've been in a band for quite a while with them, has the relationship changed? Has the way you work together changed over the years? Or are you pretty much the same as you were when you're, teenagers?
I don't know. It might have changed. To be honest, I can't really remember how we used to work together when we were younger. I think it was more of just an outlet to have a bit of fun. And I guess the work side of it maybe came in a little later, but I think we're still pretty similar. We I'll come to him with ideas and he'll come to me with ideas. And there's no real change in how we go about it. No.
Right. So when you bring a song to him, does he give you any kind of critique? Does he just look uninterested sometimes and excited other times? What kind of communication is there?
Yeah, it's a roll of the dice. Whenever you bring a song to Billy, he might love it, he might hate it, but he's usually pretty good. He'll always kind of have a couple of ideas because I'm pretty hopeless with drums and stuff like that. I can keep a beat, but so he's kind of the bank for all the drum ideas, and I look forward to bringing it to him and kind of seeing what he can put.
Right. Because I noticed on a lot of the songs, they start out with just your guitar and your voice, and the drum comes in later. And I would have thought it would be the opposite because you have somebody laying down the beat, but you're kind of setting the. So is that the way you kind of like to record and work like that, or does it just happen to be that way?
I think that kind of came from me just recording demos just into my laptop, because I would start with the guitar idea. And I would just kind of put GarageBand drums on the back of it. Yeah. And I guess a lot of the songs just kind of evolved like that, where I would start with like a verse idea and it would just play that. And then I would kick the drums in. So yeah, I don't know. I kind of realized that with this record as well. There's a lot of songs that just open with guitar and vocals, and then drums kick in later. But I think that was just a direct effect of me just recording at home and not knowing what I'm doing with drums and just kind of trying to keep it simple.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So let's touch on a couple of tunes while we're here. There's the one that's right in the middle. It's kind of the longest tune is called "Itch," and it's almost 5 minutes long, whereas most of the others are like 2 and 3 minutes long. So, and it's kind of a little bit slower as well. So, what can you tell me about that one?
Yeah, I wrote that one probably a couple of years ago. Actually, it was kind of just sitting on my computer. It was another kind of computer demo one, just I'd done for myself, and didn't really know if it was going to be a Hockey Dad song or if it was going to be something else.
Right.
But yeah, I think I sent it to Billy, and we kind of thought, let's try it out and see what we can do with it. And I think when we got to the studio, we were still kind of umming and ahhing and didn't really know how it was going to turn out. But that was where John kind of came in and really took the reins and showed us kind of how it should have sounded and what it was supposed to do. But yeah, it's kind of the least Hockey Dad song we've ever really done. It's pretty slow and pretty bombastic and intense at some points.
So
yeah,
now you're turning into a prog band.
Yeah, who knows what the next one's going to sound like. It's kind of a bit of a challenge to try that out, try a bit of a heavier song with like
Sure.
a little more dynamics in it. So yeah, we might see some more of that in the next stuff.
Cool. And the one I particularly liked was Key, because I loved it. It seemed much more soulful than the rest of the record, and it also had some nice organ in there as well. So what's happening with that one?
Oh, Keg, yeah, that one's actually
Keg, sorry, I can't even read my own writing. That's my problem.
Okay. That one's actually about the pub that I was talking about earlier. We'd taken a break from recording, and we drove down to the little town, Safala, it was called. It's like this little mining town from like the 1800s.
Right.
It's almost barren now, but there's a few people still living there. And so we went to the pub there in Safala, and it was kind of just straight out of the 80s, like nothing had changed.
Right.
And we fell in love with the place, and we were just sitting around just checking the whole joint out. And then we got back to the house and just kind of started writing this song about this pub and kind of a snapshot of the experience we had there. And yeah, the whole town kind of just had that little mellow, slow feel to it. And yeah, Keg just kind of came out of that.
Cool.
I mean, I think Keg, the name, I was at the bar.
Yeah.
And one of the locals had come in, and the bartender, I was standing at the bar, the bartender just goes, "G'day, Keg, what can I get you?" That's a great
You can't beat that. Thank you very much. I'll write that down. And were the locals pretty cool having you around?
Yeah, they were. I think we only went there once, and then we took a couple of cases to go. It's
Right.
kind of intimidating. We were some city boys, and they were very.
Yeah.
It was a bit scary, but we had fun. They were nice to us.
Do you ever play? Do you ever do gigs in places like that, out in the middle of nowhere and kind of tiny little?
Yeah, a couple of little festivals kind of out west, and they're always super fun. We love kind of traveling out there. I used to drive out there a lot when I was younger with my parents. My grandparents live in South Australia, kind of in the middle of nowhere, in another middle of nowhere. So yeah, I kind of love it out there, and it's really fun. We love to get out there.
Yeah, cool. The other song I wanted to touch on was Dole Brother. It's almost political.
Yeah. That was another one that kind of just came out of nowhere in those couple of weeks in the bush there, just writing, and we were just mucking around. And I don't know where that one come from. It's kind of the dumbest song on the record, but it's probably
that figures.
I love it.
And Reno's another slower, kind of drowsy sounding thing. Do you feel like you need to push yourselves in some different places musically? Are you kind of feeling stagnant and you need to move on?
Yeah, I think so. It's not so much like a need. I think it's just we like to kind of try and do that stuff now, and
Right.
it's fun when you can make it work and kind of make something sound a little different. It's a little more of a challenge in the studio. I mean, if we did 15 songs that all sounded like Good Eye or In This State, it'd be pretty boring for us as well. So
Right.
we kind of like to change it up and go slow and find different sounds. So yeah, that's always kind of like a goal of ours on every record.
Yeah. And like I said, I've been talking to quite a few Australian bands, artists. Is there like a community kind of feel about you guys and other rock bands, or everybody kind of working on their own? I know it's a big country, so.
Yeah, it's a big country, but it's a tiny population, really. So I think a lot of bands in Australia like to stick together, and I mean, we're pretty much all friends and all get together. And kind of during this lockdown, I've been chatting with friends of mine, like the guys from Skeggs and stuff, a few other rock bands here, and we've just been like kind of writing fun songs and just writing stuff to keep ourselves busy. It's a really tight knit community, the rock and roll scene in Australia, I think. So we're pretty thankful for that.
It sounds healthy. That's good, because when stuff like this happens, it's like, well, what do? You need to have somebody to hang out with, and at least.
Yeah, I think we're all in the same boat as well. No one really knows what we're going to do for the rest of our lives if we can't play gigs again. So it's nice to be able to confide in another artist and have someone in the same predicament as you.
Yeah. Well, let's hope that there's more gigs to come, for crying out loud, because we don't want that. At least over here, we're lucky and we got local bands that are playing and doing gigs, but we can't have anybody from overseas at the moment because they have to go on 2-week quarantine before they can be allowed in the country, which is kind
of course.
But yeah, it's been nice to be going out to clubs, and you really find how much you miss it when you haven't got it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I feel like I've taken every gig I've ever played for granted until now when this sort of happened. So yeah, it's going to be nice to play a couple more at the end of this month. It'll be nice to just get loud again, have my ears ringing again.
Yep. Good. They say it's not good for you, but I don't believe that.
Plenty of time off, so I'm ready for it.
That's good. So when you're touring with all these bands, do you guys is there much interaction between you? Because I mean, people got to be curious. Even now, it's still a novelty being from down under here. And do you get a lot of questions about your lifestyle or what it is?
Yeah, I think people are always kind of intrigued. Maybe a little less now. I think the internet's definitely helped that a bit.
Right.
But yeah, like if we're touring in the States and we're just as interested in American culture and the bands there as they are in us. So it's always good. We try to hang out as much as we can, and Americans will take us to all the crazy American shit they have. And then we'll tell them about the crazy shit that we have. And it's really fun to kind of compare, and then, meet up again in Australia or back in America. And yeah, we've made kind of lifelong friends on the road. From America or Europe or the UK, and yeah, it's always the best part of touring like that with bands. You form these weird close friendships in such a short amount of time, but they're just so strong, and you kind of never forget them.
Yeah. So if you want to impress somebody who's visiting you from overseas, it's in a band or something, where would you take them?
Oh, that's a good question. There's so many good spots. I mean, Wollongong's pretty hard to beat. There's some good stuff down here. But, I mean, you've got to kind of take them out west. You've got to take them to the outback, to the barren kind of snake-filled plains, I reckon. That's the way to go. Scare the shit out of them a
bit. That's good. Have you been bitten by a snake at all?
No, I've never been bitten by a snake. I've only seen maybe 3 or 4 snakes in the world in my life, so it's kind of a myth. Everyone will be fine.
Yeah. All righty. Well, good luck with the drive-in show. I wish I could be there. I'd love to be sitting in there just blowing my horn.
I'm filming it on YouTube actually on the day of it.
So great. Okay. Yeah. So people can see it on YouTube.
Yeah. Let me get the dates for that. Sorry, one sec. I'll find out.
I think I've got them written down. I think it's the 31st and the 1st, isn't it?
Yeah, it's on the 31st, and you can find the stream on our website as well. So, yeah, check it out. You'll be able to watch the stream for free on YouTube.
Cool. Well, there's still rock and roll to be had. That's good to see. All right. Well, have fun. Good luck with the record. Thank you for doing this. And hopefully we'll see you on this side of the old Tasman sometime or other.
Well, thank you very much. Looking forward to it. Cheers, Marty.